Hi, welcome. My name is Dr. Norm McVeigh, and I welcome you to this presentation. I practice energy psychology, my doctorate's in psychology, and the use of biofeedback in therapy and psychological process. I used to teach at a graduate school, and I taught master's and PhD programs in psychology. I've been in practice as a professional coach, consultant, therapist, and such since 1968, so I've been at it for quite a long time. I'm also the author here of this book. This is a book on EFT and energy psychology. And it's an updated, advanced technology for people that have a knowledge of EFT and would like to work at a deeper and more concise level. And I won't cover a lot on this. This is covered on other videos. But I'm presenting to you today a technology that a lot of questions people have asked me over the years. I've trained a few thousand coaches. And what I want to present is a technology called Anatomy of the Human Energy Field. Now we'll be covering this in a couple of sections, so watch for the videos on YouTube. Now I really welcome you to this iBliss Energy Psychology session. I'll be teaching psychological models. And the purpose of these models is to increase your competence as a coach, psychologist, medical doctor, healer, salesperson, housewife, child, whatever, to raise your communication and coaching skills 100 times. Now I know that's quite a big claim, but I'm prepared to do so. I'm prepared to show you a technology that I've taught thousands over the years. I taught for the largest coaching corporation in the United States back in the 70s. We actually started in the coaching field before there was even something called coaching. We called it consulting back then. So I welcome you to this here, and I like to say that I hope you have some knowledge perhaps of EFT or other technologies like that, because that would be helpful. But if not, you'll start to get a sense of this. So this is an advanced psychological or coaching process. We've also encoded a field of white light in the audio and video portions of this program, and this will help release energetic blockages. I'd also like to mention that I work with heart coherence and energy field coherence, and I use a device called the heart rate variability monitor. And I'll just be touching on this program, but there are other videos on YouTube that show me actually working with clients, showing how this device helps you get to core issues. But for right now, I just want to introduce it to you. And the white light will help surface issues and get them ready to be tapped on in a field or technology called energy tapping. I'll also show you how to do energy tapping without actually doing the tapping and having the energy field do the tapping for you. Sort of the lazy man or lazy woman's guide to psychological release and the release of core issues. But it works extremely well. I like to joke about it because it is a very easy and effective way to do it. Now I'd like to talk about personal responsibility here. If you choose to perform this process with me and to be involved in this technology, I'd like you to agree to take total responsibility for the outcome. I'd like you to be 100% totally responsible, not to blame me for it or to praise me for it. And I'd like you to waive any damages against myself, my company, my employees, my staff, my family, etc. So you're 100% responsible. And if you're under psychiatric care, check with your doctor before you do this process. And if you are feeling that you can't do this, or this is somehow you're under psychiatric care, or you can't make the responsibility, 100% responsibility, then move on to something else. Let this go. If you're now watching this program and participating in this program, then we have an agreement that you waive any damages from me and take 100% responsibility for what you're doing in this program. And thank you for making that agreement. I really appreciate that. Okay, and with that heart rate variability monitor, we're working with something called electronically assisted introspection, a term that I came up with back in 1972. I used to have a biofeedback manufacturing company. What we're doing here with energy psychology is we're releasing the lies from the past. I don't mean that they're outright lies or falsehoods. I just mean they're myth experience. A lot of it never happened. I mean, it happened, but it happened, your experience of it is through your filters. And the filters have caused enough of a twist or alteration in the original stressful incident to make the incident persist in time, because it's, as you talk about it, you're not actually telling the deep core truth about it. What you're doing is you're telling an alteration about it, an alteration through your filters, an alteration in perception. And the more negative mental energy that you have, or another way of calling that would be stress, but call it negative mental energy, the more skewed the perception and the less chances of easy resolution. So the situations in life that have persisted for the longest have the most amount of alterations in them, the most amount of altered time. Maybe you blame somebody in the incident, maybe you shifted what you said, maybe you have something out of sequence, etc., etc. And the use of heart rate variability monitor in a coaching session is to be able to get the truth. As Jesus says, the truth will set you free, and exactly what it will do. So this is a truth-telling session. And those, let's call them inaccuracies or alterations or negative mental energy, causes a glitch in the body's energetic field, just as Gary Craig, the founder of EFT, says. And he talks about a glitch in the body's energetic field. It does. It causes stagnant and stuck chi. And the stagnant and stuck chi occurs in the manifestations of emotions, attitudes, certain kinds of self-limiting belief systems, and other forms of stresses. And we'll go into the exact nature and foundation of these incidents and the exact mechanics of the body's energetic field as we move along in this presentation. So right now, I'd just like to say that traumatic incidents, or you could call it traumatic cellular memory, has negative mental energy as part of its contact, or electronic charge. It's not magnetic. It's more electrical. And this can be measured with electronic instrumentation, biofeedback. I developed a computer voice analyzer to measure it, galvanic skin response. I had a company that manufactured those devices, and we have heart rate variability. And I worked in a quantum physics lab for 7 years measuring this with some very sophisticated equipment and some very sophisticated researchers. So these negative pictures, or these pictures of past traumatic incidents, are at their essence, are made up of negative mental energy. And what we found in our work in the quantum physics lab is that negative mental energy is what's called vertical energy. And there's another kind of energy called horizontal energy. And horizontal energy is the energy we're interested in. That's the energy of cleared intention. That's the energy of the body's field without glitches. That's the energy field of saying positive words. That's the energy field of being in the now, being in the zone, so to speak. And vertical energy is the same energy we found for negative mental energy, meaning negative or stressful pictures or stressful incidents. It's the same as EMF, electromagnetic fields, and ELF, extra low frequency fields, that come from electricity. In other words, using the devices we have in the lab, there's no way of telling the difference or differentiating between a negative thought and the electricity coming out of your light socket in your house, or electricity coming out of a computer, a microwave, a light, an iPod, a camera, etc. It looks exactly the same. It's in the vertical band. Essentially, it spins counterclockwise. I'm trying to do counterclockwise there. So this is quite interesting. I'd also like to, I think the place to start with this is I will show you a scale in my book. And my book here is Coherent Coaching with EFT, Energy Psychology, and HRV Biofeedback by Dr. Norm McVeigh. And I'd like to show you a scale. I don't know that you can read it on the camera here, but this is called the scale of vibration. And I just wanted to show you here, this is a scale that is extremely useful in coaching, and I've taught this since 1968. This is extremely useful and will help you in so much of what you're doing. And it's called the scale of vibration. And you start at the bottom and you work your way up as you're raising vibration. And this is well laid out in my book, but I want to show you that there is a scale of vibration, and this is a real handy tool. And I think Carl Jung was the original source on this, and other people have added to this along the way. So the person comes to you in a particular condition, and that condition is often psychological reversal. And psychological reversal is essential. I mean, you'll see all that through EFT and thought field therapy about psychological reversal. And by the way, Lindsay Kenny has done the best that I've seen out there on psychological reversal. She's an EFT master. I've studied with her, and she really has it really well codified. Psychological reversal is essentially being out of your own identity and being in the identity of your oppressor from the past, or someone that you perceived as an oppressor. So what psychological reversal is having intentions that counter your betterment. And it's very, very easy to see where psychological reversal at play. Person goes on a diet, they promise they're not going to eat this particular kind of food, bang, they're eating it. Person says they're not going to speed anymore, I can't drive 55. Psychological reversal, they're not driving 55, they're driving 65 or 85. The psychological reversal is when you have a prime intention, let's say this, and what happens is that another intention of your subconscious gets in the way and counters it and is stronger than your fundamental intention or your fundamental effort. And that, what counters it, is a counter or opposing intention or intentions. And that's to account for a lot of why people don't make gain in therapy and psychological process and cannot work their way through various disabilities, because the intention is so strong to not work your way through because there's secondary gain, or as could be said, payoffs, a good human potential word, for not succeeding at your goal. And these psychological payoffs are in many, many forms. And we'll go into those as we move along with it. But that's a real fun area. But I just wanted to mention psychological reversal because it is a great discovery of Dr. Roger Callahan with thought field therapy. In coaching people, the very first thing you want to do, and this may sound like a no-brainer, but some people don't do this, that's accept what the client says. When the client tells you, if the client tells you they've been kidnapped by a UFO, take it and tap on it and work on it. Accept what the client says. Now when you use biofeedback instrumentation, you can accept what the client says and you can locate core issues. You can steer the client around to getting to the subconscious content, the real deep stuff. But essentially you want to accept what the client says. I mean, why get into an argument with the client? You want the client to be in a safe space with you and to tell the truth. And that's the whole game here, is learning to tell the truth. Because we haven't. Unfortunately, that's what psychological reversal is. There are truths, one truth here countered by another truth there, opposing truths. So that's why it's hard to get ahead on the subject of money, personal relationships, investments, stock trading, commodities. You have an intention, or people have an intention that opposes their original fundamental intention. And that's where energy tapping comes in. And that's where the energy fields that we have help to surface this kind of such. So truth releases and lies persist. So alteration of exactly what happened is what's in the subconscious. It's all alteration. It's not exact time, place, form, and event. There's blames, there's justifications, there's excuses, there's all sorts of such in there. And that's what we want to release. Now, most important thing to talk about here, and that is that, and I see coaches not doing this, and this is one of the reasons why I want to make some of these videos, is because out of my, 45 or so years of training coaches and coaching and training psychologists and therapists, this has evaded some people or some coaches and therapists. So it's just too important to not be part of one's repertoire and one's basic understanding. And that is always coach towards responsibility and accountability. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Always coach towards responsibility and accountability. Now you can take an incident. If the person comes to you and says, someone in the parking lot assaulted me and broke my car and stole my binder and, all this. Okay, they're at the effect, and someone caused that. And you can tap on that to release that. But if you tap on just primarily what was done to them, you'll get a person that will have what you'll get is a clear victim. Because you're not asking the person to be accountable for whatever they did or didn't do, said, didn't say, acted upon, didn't act upon, to help bring that incident about. At the higher levels of responsibility, at the higher levels on my scale here, the person is coached to the level that they are the source and they find themselves responsible for the situation that exists. And when they do that, they're totally empowered. The world doesn't happen to you, you happen to the world. So that's how it goes. You're coaching the person towards responsibility and accountability. Otherwise, the person will be a perpetual victim. If something happened to them, you can bet that they've caused that at some point earlier in their life, something like that. There are no victims in the world, and there are no innocent people. Not truly when it comes to energy psychology. Energy psychology goes to the core of why things happen to you in a particular way. They happen out of your beliefs, and they happen out of your filters. And that's where this stuff comes from. You're always coaching the client towards cause. You're always coaching them towards them seeing and finding out that they have brought about the situation that exists in their life. And in the beginning, they're going to want to deny this. They're going to want to say they didn't do it. Or if they do, they get it as blame. They blame themselves. Oh, I did it, I did it, I did it. Blame. That's not it. When the prime intention was created to bring about the incident, they were at cause and in a cause position. It's just now they're not. They're at the effect. And it's easier to be at the effect and say things were done to you than it is to take responsibility and say, I created that in one way or another, and I'm here to find out how exactly I brought this about. I must have believed something in order for it to happen. My timing was impeccable to have that happen in the parking lot. How could... all this comes from the subconscious, and I don't expect the conscious mind to know this. The subconscious knows it all. It's all in the subconscious, and it's all there. It just needs to be read with biofeedback instrumentation or sensed by a very sensitive, intuitive coach and brought to the surface and tapped and released. And I want to acknowledge Gary Craig and all the EFT and thought field therapy masters who have helped bring this technology forward. What I see is the models that I've developed over the years are something that works extremely powerful in empowering practitioners to do that 100 times greater result. And that's where the 5-minute wonders come from. That's when the 10-minute session does a 5-hour result. That's what we're aiming for. It's better for everybody. Everybody gets to win. We're not creating codependence here, where every time the person, before they can do anything, they have to call you on the phone. Client has to call you on the phone, check if that's okay. This is back in the old psychological model where you're creating mom and dad and just reinforcing mom and dad. So going nowhere. So you're creating independence, not codependence. I'd like to talk with you now, and I'm going to go into the next video to do this. And this next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the 3 primary forms of trauma that exist in the subconscious mind. And these primary 3 forms will be very important for you because you'll be able to identify when you've gotten a core issue and when you haven't, and what it looks like to get down to the bottom of a thread with someone. And a lot of practitioners, let's say some practitioners of energy psychology, will be very happy when they just release a minor incident. And I want to point out and show and demonstrate how that minor incident is a win, but it's not a complete result. And I want to show you how to get a complete result and make sure that what you're dealing on is not going to come back. And you can test it. When you've really gotten it, you can test it. And it's just gone. It's just really gone. Some people will say that it never happened, meaning that the perception of what happened was so different than what actually did take place that no wonder why they were stuck with it. So I appreciate you're getting a chance to watch this video. Let's go on to my next one here, and I'll show you the 3 primary functions or 3 primary forms of subconscious content.